Clearly, this signal is not working. Ladies, we're going to quickly hop around the number of pairs of footwear. Get ready? Go.
8. 15. 15. 15. Same. 15. 20. 20. 21.
25.
About 30.
30.
Oh, at least 30, 33.
Well, clearly now we're going to have to start thinking about storage. How do you, well, what point in time do you use storage? But you don't have to explain your storage process. Number of footwear. Go.
45.
50-ish.
I'll say 58.
50-ish. 50-ish.
Why are you talking about 50s now? I swear earlier it was more. I would have guessed about 100.
Roseanne?
She knows. I don't hear you.
Wait, what?
I don't hear you.
58. Wow. Ladies, what I need you to do.
Wait, can I ask a question? Is that before purging or after?
That's after. I just purged recently and I counted because I have them in 9 different bins under my bed.
Everybody's definition of purging is different.
Okay, now, the reason for you moving, because at the end of the day, if you just sat at your seat, it'd be very difficult to maintain being perky within the conversation. Your task is to get into a triad. This is your home triad that you will come back at the end of the day. So quickly, form a triad, and I'll share with you your task.
Are we triading?
I'll be making a handout, a writing tool, and I need you to situate yourself throughout the perimeter of this portion of the library by the quantity. So from 1 through 15, 25, 30, 40, and beyond. Transition, please. Indoor and outdoor slippers, I'm thinking footwear. It could be snow boots, any type of footwear you own. Indoor, outdoor, think about the number of footwear. What you need to do is when you have a number, give me a thumbs up.
Oh, I can't count that high.
How many pairs? Like 5 of the same pair of shoes.
I can't.
Yo lo voy a pensar, voy a hacer una clase.
Thank you. Once you see me raise my hand, that just tells you let's go ahead and come to a complete stop as we move forward. This is great. This is good. This is good information because what Joyce and Showers talks about, professional learning and adult learning, the way we get high implementation is if we continuously talk about it, reflect upon it, and work with each other. As we move forward today and tomorrow, the rest of the week, we are going to continue with implementing the concepts. So when you think about this data, I went ahead and distributed the following handout. It looks like this. Sorry, everyone's listening. Looks like this. It's a packet, and it's titled, I think, Day 1, Structured Academic Talk, Reflection. This is the individual response. I'd like you, just that first page, quickly take notes. Do not write a dissertation, but take notes of the following. Reflect upon structured academic talk in your classroom. Remember, this is not new information. Validate, confirm, and remind the concept. However, reflect upon the academic talk strategies that you practice. You don't have to do all of those practices, choose 1 or 2. Have some information to have a collegial conversation with a colleague. However, if you did not practice, what hindered you from practicing these strategies? So this is a sit, process, and make sure you have some information so that you can share with a partner. Might you be able to do this in 2 minutes? Janice. Quickly do so. Reflect, please.
Thank you.
And concepts that we previously talked about, which I'll give you some time to reflect. I'm also very thankful, personally as well as from WestEd. Thank you so much for taking the time on focusing on instruction in the classroom, because the #1 indicator to increase student achievement is the classroom teacher. I was just in a second grade classroom in Phoenix proper, and I've been working with this district and we've been working on reading comprehension, something called repeated interactive read aloud. And she was reading the book Pinkalicious. And she was reading the book, she asked the question, and she noticed that her students were not partnering. She asked another question and she noticed her students weren't partnering once again, and she said during the conversation, boys and girls, remind me, what does it look like when you work with your partner? So during the conversation, she stopped, she redirected the students, reminded students of partnership conversation, and then moved on. What Kuhn calls withedness, listen to the following word, withedness. Could you please say withedness?
Withedness.
Withedness is the ability of the teacher during instruction to say, wow, you got it, kiss your finger, kiss your brain, let's move on. Or, whoa, wait a minute. I did not hear all of my students. Let's all here say the following. Withedness, according to Kuhnen, which is a strategy in the 70s, which is still relevant today in the 2014. Can you imagine? It's already 2014. What's relevant today is the classroom teacher making those necessary decisions. So thank you so much. You know, Roseanne and I, as we popped in and out of your classrooms, what resonated with me, what Anita Archer calls, and what Kate Kinsella calls reflective thinkers here, in the classroom, we've got to remind ourselves that I'm going to validate my understanding of effective practices. So as practitioners, throughout the conversation today, I am going to share with you content research, and you're going to say, wow, I knew that. So I want to validate your understanding. So say, thank you, I'm being validated as a practitioner. I do that. In the classroom, I also know for a fact as we continue to work on implementation of our ELD standards and Common Core standards, there's going to be times when you say to yourself, okay, good, I got that. That just confirms my understanding. I knew this. Oh, this is a happy learning. I want to practice this. So I want to confirm my understanding of, okay, let me see, this is what we're talking about. What will I need to do to make it my own in my own classroom? So as practitioners, we want to validate, we want to confirm. We also know for a fact throughout our career in the classroom, outside the classroom, we also need to remind ourselves, you know what? I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Or, that's a happy reminder. I'm not doing that right now, so let me remind myself, what do I need to do to implement? So Roseanne and I truly appreciate, we validate your understanding, because you bring your experience and your expertise is needed. We confirm your understanding with current research that works for all kids. And then throughout this conversation, as Roseanne and I popped in and out of the classroom, it reminded me that teachers are still working on a variety of, but for this conversation, we're going to work on structured conversations. So I want to remind myself, I used to do that, but let me try and do it again. Or, wow, I never thought of it this way. Let me remind myself to rethink or retool my teaching. Questions, thoughts, concerns about validate, confirm, and remind. This is also coming out of the doctor's approach to the medical rounds. If you heard of medical rounds, doctors validate, confirm, and remind each other of practices. Doctors validate, confirm with current research and practices, and remind themselves, oh, wait a minute, I might have been doing that in the past, but there may be a bit more of a precise way to do it this way. So let me remind myself. So when you think about this, here's some hard data. So thank you for allowing Roseanne and I to popcorn in and out of the classroom based on the data, based on what we observe. And I know there's a typo up there. It's not smart, it's smart. But I was busily, that's not even a word. I was trying to aggregate the data so that we share with you. This is something that we saw today. This is the pulse of structured conversations today in our classrooms. So when we think about, of the 22 observed classrooms, there was a couple of classrooms that decided not to put into the actual mix of things because of what was happening. Writing is still important. Writing is still relevant. Writing is still meaningful. Before we get students to write independently, I want all of us to think, how often do we get them to talk about the language or use the language before they wrote? So the writing activities, the writing of observation, I made a choice not to add that to the mix of things, but of the observed classrooms today, 81% of teachers elicit all students to be engaged in simultaneously throughout the lesson. That means you implemented in pair shares, core response, and or numbered heads together. Thank you, divas, because you've taken the concept and you made it your own at your grade level in your own classroom. Please don't think you have to replicate exactly what John Paul does, because I know for a fact that that's not the expectation. The expectation is to, what does it mean to me? What can I do to ensure all of my students participate and are successful? So 81% of students also are engaged in routines or explained and practiced. So that means SMART, the signals. Some of us are still working on our signals, and it's okay, because it's not natural. We don't say, everyone think, and then we respond. There are different signals that we have, but of the classroom, 81% of the teachers in the conversation were working on some sort of signals. Please don't think I want to cookie cut approach this is the only signal. But signals require, remember, if I'm going to ask you to think, don't shout out. And what's your signal for them to think? Majority of the classrooms today were, I want you to think, show me thinking. Just look at the primary, the little kindergarten and first graders. Fourth and fifth, we still have to ask them to think. So think, don't tell me, tell a partner. And then lastly, 72% of teachers ask questions and provide adequate think or wait time. Quickly with a shoulder partner, what are the implications? What are some data statements you can create? What are some things that, based on this live data, what jumps out at you? Get ready? Share with the partner. Go.
It's just when I was doing writings, just, so I would do the we were working, I have a picture of the question, and then one person that created that one had to respond.